Okay, number one, we have 3 divided by x minus 5 plus 2 divided by x minus 5. So remember in previous courses when you had something like 2/3 plus 7/3, remember all that? So you can add these two fractions, you can combine them if the denominators are the same. And so since the denominators are the same, remember what we did? We added the numerators together. So 2 plus 7 is 9, and then we wrote that over that common denominator, which is 3. So we didn't say 3 plus 3 is 6. Remember that? We said divided by 3. So 2/3 plus 7/3 is 9/3. And then you reduce if you can, and I can reduce here. That's going to be 3. All right, so that's the idea that you're going to use here. See, these denominators are the same, x minus 5, x minus 5. So the step is to add the numerators together. So 3 plus 2 is 5, and then write it over that common denominator. You're going to write it over that common denominator. So the idea is this. So to add or subtract rational expressions with a common denominator, and that's what we're doing this week. Next week is going to be different denominators. All you do is add or subtract the numerator, and then whatever you get, put that over that common denominator, and then simplify your fraction if possible. And that's all you do. So I cannot do anything with this. I cannot simplify this. Don't make the mistake and reduce these 5s, because we talked about that in a previous lesson. This is a factor. Your factor in the denominator is x minus 5. You can only reduce common factors. This 5 here is not a factor. It's part of a factor. So be careful. All right, number 2. Number 2, we have x plus 7 divided by 2x minus 1 minus 3 divided by 2x minus 1. So notice the denominators are the same. And so I'm going to write this as so I'm going to subtract, this says subtraction now, so I'm going to subtract the numerator. So I'm going to say x plus 7 minus 3 divided by that common denominator, which is 2x minus 1. Then just combine like terms. 7 and a negative 3 is a positive 4. So get x plus 4 divided by 2x minus 1. And there's your answer. So x plus 7 minus 3 means the same thing as, see right here, it means the same thing as x plus 4. So you get the numerator divided by that common denominator. See that common denominator. Number 3. All right, now, number 3, we have 3x minus 2 divided by x plus 5 plus 6x plus 7 divided by x plus 5. Now, whenever you're adding, those are the easy kinds. Adding two rational expressions is a lot easier than subtracting. Now, so far, it wasn't that bad. Subtracting this one was fairly easy. You just said 7 minus 3 is 4. But adding, see how this is a binomial expression? This was just a monomial. So when you have more than a monomial, it gets a little bit more difficult. So here you're just adding. So you're going to say this. You're going to say the numerator plus the numerator, just like that, divided by the common denominator, x plus 5. And then all you do is combine like terms. 3x plus 6x is 9x. A negative 2 and a positive 7 is a positive 5, divided by x plus 5. And so there's your answer. That's all you do. Number 4, you have 3 divided by 5r minus 25 plus r plus 2 divided by 5r minus 25. All right, now we're going to get into something that's starting to get a little bit trickier now. So you may say, well, that's not difficult. It looks just like we did in this one. All right, so we're going to say the numerator will be 3 plus r plus 2, right? This plus this, divided by that common denominator, 5r minus 25. Combine like terms, this right here becomes r, 3 and 2 is 5. So it becomes r plus 5 divided by 5r minus 25. And so this is what's going to get you into trouble. You're going to say, I'm done. No, you're not done, because look, simplify the fraction if possible. Last week, in week 4, when you saw this, how'd you simplify this? Remember, to simplify this, you factored. Notice I can factor out in the denominator, I can factor out an r, I'm sorry, I can factor out a 5. So this becomes r plus 5 times, divided by 5 times r minus 5. You want to do this because if you can reduce, you need to. If you can reduce, you need to. Now here I can't because this r plus 5 does not reduce to this r minus 5. But that's the idea. If you can reduce, you need to. So whenever you get to this point, you must factor. You must factor to simplify. Now when I factor, I cannot simplify any further, so just leave your answer like this. That'll be your answer. But what if I had this? What if I had number 5? What if I said, let's see, what if I made it 7 divided by 5r minus 25 plus r minus 2, oops, let's do 3, I'm sorry, 3 divided by, same thing, 3 divided by 5r minus 25 plus r minus 7 divided by 5r minus 25. This would become this now. You would say 3 plus this numerator divided by 5r minus 25. And so now when you combine like terms, this becomes r3 and a negative 7. I wanted to make this a negative 5. So I'm going to change that to 8. I'm sorry, change that to 8 right here. 3 plus a negative 8 is a negative 5. So this becomes r minus 5 divided by 5r minus 25. And this is where you would factor to simplify. So I can factor the denominator. And when I do that, I get this. And notice these now divide out. And so your answer is 1 divided by 5. That's the answer there. So that's why this part says simplify the fraction if possible. So to simplify, you're going to need to factor. You need to factor first and then reduce. And then reduce. Okay? All right, so let's get to number 5. So let's look at another one. We still have a little bit of time. So here's number 5. So number 5, let's suppose we have this. I'm hoping this one works out the way I want it to. Let's see. 2n minus 3 divided by, this number 5, 2n minus 3 divided by n squared minus 8n plus 12 minus, and then n minus 1 divided by n squared minus 8n plus 12. Okay, now listen carefully. This is going to be harder because that's a subtraction. Subtraction is always the hardest. Okay, so listen carefully about to tell you. Remember, you're going to write this, since the denominators are the same, you're going to write this as one fraction with that denominator. Okay, and then you're going to say this numerator subtract this numerator. So this numerator is 2n minus 8. Subtraction, got to be careful. You're subtracting all of this. So what you need to do when there's a subtraction like this, and this is not a monomial, not one term, put in parentheses like this. It is extremely helpful when you have subtraction, to put this in parentheses. Subtract this. Now you're going to distribute to get rid of the parentheses. So this becomes 2n minus 8 minus n, and then the opposite of a negative 1 is a positive 1, divided by n squared minus 8n plus 12. This, you got to be careful. So remember, when you're subtracting, and this is a binomial or a trinomial, you need to put that in parentheses. And then you distribute. Now let's combine like terms. When I combine like terms, 2n and a negative n is n. A negative 8 and a positive 1 is a negative 7. Okay? Divided by, and then here I get n squared minus 8n plus 12. Now don't stop there. Don't stop there, because it is possible. It is possible for you to be able to simplify the fraction. So to simplify, always see if you can factor anything, and then see if you can reduce. So if you look at the numerator, n minus 7, I cannot do anything with that, but what if can I factor the denominator? That's the question. Can I factor this? So let's see. N in the I can factor this as n minus 6, n minus 2, couldn't I? All right. Oops. Okay, so see right here, be careful. This was a 3, right? What do I put here? An 8. So let me fix it. 3. That's a 3. Always be careful. Be careful. 3. So that's a 3, that's a 3, that's a 3. A negative 3 and a positive 1 is a negative 2. Negative 2. A negative 3 and a positive 1 is negative 2. All right, now look. We factored, right? What'd you notice? What'd you notice? Those divide out, right? So you got to do that. And now the answer is 1 divided by n minus 6. So this is important. Remember this little part right here. The last step, don't leave the answer like this. Don't leave it like this, because if you can, you need to simplify the fraction. And to simplify a rational expression, you got to factor first and then reduce. All right, so be careful about this part. You need to be able to do this part. Okay? All right, let's look at, I know we're a minute over, but I want to do one more for you. And I'll post, if you got to leave, I'll go ahead and post this tomorrow. But let me just do one more for you. And I want to do number, and we'll do number 6. Okay, so number 6, let's look at this one. We're going to do another subtraction, because I need for you to understand that. We have x squared minus 2x plus 3 divided by x squared plus 7x plus 12. Subtraction is the hardest. X squared minus 4x minus 5 is the numerator, and then x squared plus 7x plus 12. So remember, these denominators are the same. So I'm going to write this as one fraction with that common denominator, x squared plus 7x plus 12. Now, we're going to rewrite this here. So I get x squared minus 2x plus 3, but I'm subtracting all of this. So you got to put that in parentheses. So I'm subtracting an x squared, I'm subtracting a negative 4x, and I'm subtracting a negative 5. The parentheses is important. That's important. Now the next step is to get rid of those parentheses. So my denominator stays the same. Now we get rid of the parentheses. So I have x squared minus 2x plus 3, and then to get rid of the parentheses, you just distribute. So the opposite of x squared is a negative x squared. The opposite of a negative 4 is a positive 4x. And the opposite of a negative 5 is a positive 5. And then combine like terms. X squared minus x squared, 0. A negative 2x and a positive 4x is a positive 2x. 3 plus 5 is 8. Okay? Divided by x squared plus 7x plus 12. But here's the problem. Here's the problem. Many of you are going to leave it like this without thinking about what you had last week. Last week at the end of last week, where you had to simplify rational expressions, remember how to simplify this? And that's the step number 3 right here. Step number 3, simplify the rational expression if possible. So remember, when you simplified, you factored. So you factor out a 2 here. So it'll be 2 times x plus 4 divided by, and then you just factor the denominator. So x plus 4 times x plus 3. And now you see what you can do? These x plus 4s divide out. And so the answer is 2 times 1 is 2, divided by 1 times x plus 3 is x plus 3. That's your answer. So don't stop here, because all you've done now was step 2. See, this is the end of step 2. But step 3 says, if you can simplify the rational expression, you need to do that. And that was last week. That was last week. So last week was this part here. Okay? All right.